welcome to Thumble Tumble story time. Now guys, you know the script. I need you to do two things every single day, especially just now, while we're spending a lot of time at home. I need you to exercise. So if you've just popped over from Joe after doing your morning blast, that is awesome. If you have not had a chance to do any exercise yet, then please make sure you squeeze in a wee 20 or 30 minutes at some point today. Now, what is a good way to exercise? Apart from doing your PE, a couple of you did send me in some ideas. And you told me that a really cool way to exercise is to dance. Now, I don't think it's that. I'm not sure if it's the that or the one I can't do, the floss. But whatever it is, guys, apparently it's really good exercise. So I was thinking, a wee mini challenge for Friday, because you know I like a Friday shout out, don't you? Yes, I do. How about for Fridays, maybe you guys could film yourself or just take a photo of you doing a bit of a cool dance. That's right. And we can have a big Friday dance off. Now, this show is all about reading, books, writing, drawing, literature. Yes, anything to do with books and stories and writing and illustrating, that's what we're all about. So if you don't mind, how about you try and include a book in that dance? So you can send in for Friday a cool picture of you with a book on your head or on your toe, whatever you want to put it, or you can do the Friday dance off and just put a book in there somewhere as you're doing your cool dance. I challenge you to try and do that, kids. That's right. Now, the other thing that I need to remember to do every single day is wash. Wash these hands. You've got to give them a really good wash. You have got to wash them for 20 whole seconds. Now, yesterday we decided that a really good way to wash our hands would be to sing happy birthday. And a couple of you had sent me in birthdays. Well, guess what? A couple more of you have sent me in birthdays. That's right. So I'm going to try and do the happy birthday song while washing my hands while saying happy birthday. It's going to be tight, guys, but here goes. So, happy birthday to Mac. He was 12 on the 9th of April. Happy birthday to Mac. Yay! There was one more big shout out that I have to give, and that was to Emma. And Emma was 7, and she was 7 yesterday. And it's her granny and grandpa McCormack, and they sent in a message, and the message came in right after the show. But guess what, Emma? I bet you had the most awesome, spectacular 7th birthday ever. Now, before I go on, I have one more shout out to give this morning. That's right. And this is to Max. And Max has sent his gran and grandpa a big thank you card. Aw, so guess what, Max? Gran Leslie just wanted to give a big hello and a big shout out to you because she misses you so much. Right, moving on, guys. I always like to set a challenge in this show. And yesterday, we set a challenge. Yesterday's story was a bit different. I read you a twisted up version of The Three Little Pigs. And the challenge was for you to design your own Three Little Pigs and perhaps their piggy house. Now, we had some really cool creations. I have to say that first up today, Bonnie. Now, Bonnie, I can see that we've got Greedy, Coco and Munchie. And also, we've got 3 separate houses for them. What effort, Bonnie. Awesome. Well done. Oops, that was just a wee grunt there. Next up, we have Holly. Now, Holly, this was so cool. Holly created Shimmer, Shine, who is a mermaid pig, and Sparkle. And you'll also see there's a pool there. That's right. That is for Shine. That is for the mermaid pig to dip her tail in. Fantastic! Next up, we had Sky who sent us in Chunky, Cheeky and Choco. I'm loving the alliteration, guys. For anyone who's not 100% sure what alliteration is, because it's one of those big long words that I usually have to look up every time myself, but it means when the beginning of each thing starts the same. So we've got the ch, and the ch for the Chunky, Cheeky and Choco. Well done. Oh, and then from Kyle, we've got Chintzy, Lindsay and Wrinkly, as in a wrinkly old prune. And look at the house. Oh, we have directions to the kitchen, to the chimney, to the food storage, to the rooms, to the garage, and there's even a door. Well done, Kyle, I love it. And last, but most definitely not least, Daisy. Daisy, how much effort went into this? First of all, Daisy has built an entire house. And these are gymnastic pigs. And we have got Frank the flipper, Kalisa the cartwheeler, and Daisy herself, the dancer. Well done, guys. Absolutely awesome. Cannot believe the amount of creativity that's going on and just the amount of effort. So, thank you so much. And as you know, if you've not already received a delicious bar of Scoffalicious chocolate, then there will be one winging its way to you right now. Because when you take part in the Thumble Tumble challenge, for each of the challenges that we receive, we like to send you out a bar of Thumble Tumble chocolate, which is absolutely delicious, by the way, and well worth the challenge. Now, today is very exciting. In this show, what we do is we read a story and then we have a challenge. And for the last 2 weeks, we were reading my first book, this one here, and it was Thumble Tumble in the Allfeist. And we finished it last week just in time for Easter. So I was wondering what to do next. Well, I think it's time to carry on with the Thumble Tumble adventures. We are going to be reading Thumble Tumble and the Cauldron of Undri. So today, I am just going to start at the beginning to set the scene of the books. Basically, all over the world, there are witches. There are good witches and there are evil witches, night witches. And the leader of the night witches is one specifically nasty, horrible, evil, mean, ugly piece of work. And her name is Mogdred. And Mogdred, well, she really wants to take over the world. And there's one person that she needs to get rid of and to be able to do that. And that is the protector of the witches' coven. Guys, it is time to begin at the very beginning. Chapter 1, Thumble Tumble and the Cauldron of Undri. And then there was one. Sparkling blue light filled the cave as sunshine reflected off the sapphire crystals that had been lovingly hung from every single stalactite by Morven, the beautiful sea dragon who lived there. It was early evening and Morven was standing over a huge pot in the part of the cave that she used as a kitchen because water dripped in from a small hole in the ceiling above. She had once placed the carcass, picking them up gently between her teeth and dropping them in. The dish she was so carefully preparing was seaweed stew, a rare treat because the luminous seaweed needed to make the stew was almost don't look very appetising. They have a thick, black, prickly skin and the smell from them is disgusting, just like rotten fish actually. Morven picked up a few at a time between her teeth and squeezed gently until they're pale. She started adding spices to season the dish, discussing the merits or otherwise with herself as she went along. Maybe a touch more fire chili, I think. Maybe a tad more, just a snitch more. She stuck her tongue into the pot. Perfect, she muttered, slurping down a mouthful of stew. The dragon's home was surprisingly bright and airy, due to the hole in the ceiling near the back of the cave that allowed sunlight to come streaming through. Despite the brightness, Morven's eyelids felt very heavy. They were drooping halfway down, and every now and then she'd find herself standing upright with her eyes completely closed, at which point she would wake up. A loud grumbling noise periodically echoed around the cave walls, was also helping to keep her awake. The growls were coming from the bottom of her stomach. Morven had been trawling the main lock all day, looking for luminous seaweed for the stew, and now she was tired and hungry. Morven and her husband Tavish were two of the last remaining sea dragons on Earth. They had fled to the Isle of Arran, home of Lizzie the Protector, to raise a family. Their first child was still an egg, and the precious bundle was due to hatch in just a few weeks. The dark grey stripy markings on the shell meant it was a boy. Morven had been preparing the cave for the new arrival for weeks. She had gathered glistening stones, fluffy wool balls, and teething toys made from an array of seashells, rocks and pebbles. Most importantly, she had been making the baby pool. When they hatch, baby sea dragons need to stay submerged in fresh water until all of their scales have fully formed, and this can take up to 3 months. Morven had dug out a large ditch at the back of the cave to make sure the pool had lots of sunlight. She had lined the pool with clay from the bottom of the main loch and filled it with fresh water from the loch. Everything was ready. Morven was so excited she couldn't help but smile every time she thought of tiny dragon feet pattering about the cave. But she was also fearful for her precious little bundle, as she knew if Mogred ever found out about the egg, she would do everything in her power to destroy it. Tavish should be home by now, Morven said to herself aloud. Gripping with her teeth, she picked up 2 massive pieces of slate they used as plates and placed them on the great stone table that stood in the centre of the cave. Next, she took the pot into her mouth and poured huge dollops of seaweed stew onto each of the slates. The luminous seaweed glowed, its yellowish orange shimmer replacing the blue sparkles which had almost disappeared now that the sun was setting. Morven had been so preoccupied with making her dinner that she got quite a shock when she realised how much the daylight was dimming. As quickly as she could, she began to ignite dozens of torches set on ledges around the cave, puffing gently on each one until the twine inside burst into flames. Within a few minutes, her home was so brightly illuminated, you could easily think it was midday and not 7 o'clock in the evening. Morven never allowed the cave to fall into complete darkness, especially at night, as that was when the night witches were on patrol, looking to attack any unsuspecting victims. Wondering where on earth Tavish could have got to, Morven decided to eat her helping of stew. An hour passed, then another, and Morven fell asleep. With her mouth wide open, she was snoring so loudly that the sapphire crystals that hung all around the cave started to sway to and fro, making a soothing tinkling sound as they chimed against one another. It was the perfect environment for a baby to fall asleep, and its mummy. In the middle of a lovely dream in which her egg had hatched into a baby sea dragon, Morven rolled over onto her tummy. As she did so, the tip of her tail hit one of the stalactites growing down from the roof of the cave, sending sapphire crystals crashing to the ground. Morven jumped up, startled by the noise, and looked around in a sleepy haze. The first thing she realised was that Tavish hadn't returned home. Morven began to get really worried. Tavish always made sure he was home before nightfall, especially since the night witch attacks had started. She went over to the pile of straw neatly packed at the back of the cave and stared adoringly at the fragile little egg that had been placed there. Using her mouth, she carefully transferred the egg into the baby pool. Once she had made sure the egg was fully submerged, she gathered twigs and branches in her jaws and placed them in a crisscross pattern across the pool. When it was completely covered, she took a deep breath and blew dust over the makeshift cover until it blended in with the rest of the cave floor. Just then, an enormous gust of wind surged through the cave, extinguishing every one of the torches she had lit earlier. There was not a single shard of light anywhere. Morven blinked frantically, her large green eyes trying to adjust to the pitch black. Then she heard Tavish crying out through the darkness. "Run, Marvin, run!" he yelled. "They've taken the Macduffs. We're the last of the sea dragons. Run!" The dreadful piercing screams she heard coming from the direction of the entrance to the cave unnerved Marvin. She tried to force her legs to move, but they were rooted to the spot. As she struggled to move, a lightning bolt came hurtling towards her. It skimmed her shoulder, only just missing her head. "How's that for starters?" howled Gretch, with a hideous shriek of laughter, sending another assault of lightning bolts towards Marvin. Gretch was the daughter of Mogred, the most evil and feared of the night witches. Mogred had been blinded during her last battle against Lizzie the Protector, and in order to guard herself from harm, she had ordered that every sea dragon be killed. The reason? Because sea dragons breathe out water which is so pure it can melt the soul of a night witch, destroying it instantly. Mounted on her broom, Gretch looked down gleefully as she swooped over the body of the male sea dragon. Her lightning bolt had made a direct hit. Mogred would be pleased. Gretch decided to land, but her huge stomach touched the ground first before her feet could reach it, causing her broom to tip up at the back. The front dug into the ground like a javelin pole, sending her careering across the floor. She landed on the cave floor, her body wobbling like a jelly. When she finally stopped, she found it hard to get back up onto her feet. She had to roll onto her hands and knees and then push her enormous bottom up into the air. She then placed her feet firmly on the ground before managing to push up into a standing position. Gretch was 5 feet tall, but her legs were only 1 foot long. They had shrunk down from carrying her enormous body around. She wore black tights, a black smock that barely covered her enormous stomach. Her skin was such a dark shade of grey that it was almost black, and on her face it hung down so much it looked as though it belonged to someone with a much bigger head. She had short black hair congealed with grease from having never been washed, and her long hooked nails had ragged edges, good for ripping things apart. Just as she entered the cave, Gretch's twin sister, Sloth, landed with a splat a few centimetres in front of her. A mirror image of Gretch, she too had been pole vaulted off of her broom. "Oi, watch out, you big lump," Gretch complained. "Oh, stop your whinging," Sloth sniped back. "We need to find the female sea dragon. Come on, she can't be far." The two sisters waddled into the cave side by side. Gretch's first lightning bolt had acted like an adrenaline punch when it hit Marvin, sending a rush of energy from her shoulder all the way down her powerful legs. Although she couldn't see, at least she could move again. Picturing in her mind a massive boulder that sat against the cave wall opposite her giant stone table, Marvin ran straight towards it. As the tip of her nose made contact with the rock, she opened her jaws wide and blasted out a massive water jet. The boulder disintegrated immediately, revealing a secret exit. Marvin pushed through the large opening, spread her magnificent wings, and disappeared beyond the clouds, high above the cave. Finding no more dragons in the cave, Slotch and Greth soon grew bored and flew off to tell Mogred about how they had killed Tavish, leaving behind the precious little egg still submerged in its pool at the back of the cave. That's the end of that chapter, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Now, we've left that chapter on a wee bit of a cliffhanger, and I am wondering what happens next. So, for tomorrow's challenge, I thought it would be really good for you guys to try to think what happens next. Now, to do this, I quite like to have a big, huge crystal ball. So this is what your challenge is for tomorrow, guys. I would like you to draw a big, huge crystal ball, a big circle, some magical stars, and maybe a stand. And then your challenge is to put in the crystal what you think happens next in the story. We have an egg, a baby dragon egg. We have a mummy dragon who has escaped. And we have two horrible, evil, nasty witches, Sloth and Gretch, who are away to tell their mother, Morven, what they have done. So in here, I want you to write what you think happens in the Cauldron of Indri. And we're going to keep a hold of it. We're going to keep a hold of this magical crystal ball. And at the very end of the book, I want you to come back to it and see if you guessed correct. So, crystal ball, couple of stars, and predict. Tell me what you think happens next in the story. It can be anything. You can tell me what happens to the two witches. You can tell me what happens to the precious egg. You can draw a picture in there as well. But that is your challenge for tomorrow, guys, is to get a crystal ball and put on your imagination caps and tell me what you think happened next in the story. Now, before I sign off, we have been doing one other challenge. And that challenge was for 100 of your amazing teachers to get involved in a challenge that we called the Egghead Challenge. And what your teachers had to do, well, it was quite challenging actually. What they had to do was they had to take an egg and they had to smash it over their head. This egg could be a yolky egg, a hard-boiled egg, a chocolate egg. But they needed to get an egg and a head and smash it over. And do you know what? They did. 100 teachers took part in the Egghead Challenge and they raised a phenomenal £1,000 for the NHS. Since your teachers have done that, other people have all been joining in the Egghead Challenge and now we have over £2,000 for the NHS, which is awesome. But I wanted to thank those very special teachers, and so this Friday I have got a wee bit of a surprise for my 100 teachers who took part in the Egghead Challenge. So I hope to see you guys on Friday. The rest of you who are tuning in, please, please, please send me in your ideas. This is your show. Tell me what you want to do. I think it's a great idea that you want to do your dance off on Friday, and I cannot wait to see some of your clips. Please send us in clips. It can just be a picture of you. Remember, you need to involve a book. So it can be you doing one of your great pose dances, or one of those dances, or whatever you guys can do. Or you can do a full-blown video clip of you dancing. That's right. So, as a summary, please predict. Tell me what you think happens in the book next. Also, send us in your dancing clips because we want to see them for the big Friday shout out. If you have any birthdays that you want me to mention, tell me. Tell me. If it's your birthday, then we do like to send you a wee birthday book if you get a mention on the show as well. And speaking of books, Max, courtesy of Gran Leslie, the big special shout out, you will be getting a book sent to you, signed by me. And also for my lovely birthdays, Mac and Emma, we are going to be sending a couple of signed books out to you as well. For everyone else who would like to get their hands on the Thumble Tumble books, you can pop onto our website and do Thumble Tumble /books. You can get a hold of the books there, and you can go online. And if you go onto any major online retailers, you will be able to get a hold of our books there as well. Before I go, guys, please remember, send us in your challenges. Send us in your dancing clips, all your ideas, and please also like, comment, subscribe to our lovely YouTube channel, and hit the notification bell. I will hopefully see you all tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.